CW and live on the CBS7 YouTube channel with Alexandra Macia and Tom Tieferteller.
It's more of helping the local non-for-profits that keep the cash in the community. Because there's a lot of non-for-profits and some are nationwide and you really don't know where that money's going. So it's really, really good to get involved with the local non-for-profits that the money stays there in that community and that helps those that are really affected by it.
Chef Alejandro is known for helping West Texans, but his generosity is now spreading across the nation. Coming up in just a few minutes, we have more on how the Curbside Bistro chef is helping those impacted by the Maui wildfires. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Alexandra Macia, and we start tonight with an in-depth look at the race for sheriff in Midland County. A couple of weeks ago, former Midland County Deputy Chief Rory McKinney announced that he's running for Midland County Sheriff again. Back in 2020, he lost to Midland County Sheriff David Kreiner, but now McKinney says he's back for one reason: to make Midland the safest county in the country. McKinney says if he's elected that he would implement a special crimes unit so that deputies can go after local drug dealers to eliminate drugs from entering Midland County. That special teams unit would also go after people involved in human trafficking.
We need to concentrate in our own backyard. We have our brothers and sisters with the federal level that go after the head of the snake. They go after the leaders of these cartels. What we need to do is concentrate right here and go after the tail of the snake right here in our own backyard.
Back in August, Midland County Sheriff David Kreiner announced that he will run for re-election, and Justin Painter will announce that he will join the race for Midland County Sheriffs this week. In tracking crime, a 33-year-old man from Midland will spend the next 35 years in prison with no chance of parole. According to the Midland County District's Attorney's Office, Shane Lindsay was charged with continuous sexual abuse of a young child. According to the DA, the victim described the abuse to the Midland Children's Advocacy Center, which led to Lindsay's arrest. And in Odessa, this man, 48-year-old Guillermo Lujan, was arrested and charged with indecency with the child by sexual contact. According to the Ector County Sheriff's Office, the child told an adult about the assault, who called the sheriff's office. Deputies took Lujan into custody this morning. And in Seminole, early Saturday morning, police pulled over a vehicle that had an incorrect license plate. Officers soon learned that the vehicle was actually reported stolen back on August 31st out of Hobbs. The driver, 42-year-old Kara Fulton of Odessa, was arrested and charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. She also had a suspended license. Police then investigated the 3 other passengers in the vehicle, and officers found that 32-year-old Jander Favela of New Mexico had a warrant in Ector County. 27-year-old Juan Cruz, who was sitting in the back seat, was charged with possession of drug paraphernalia after a glass pipe with burned residue was found. And lastly, 36-year-old Petronilo Juarez Chavria, who is illegally in the U.S. from Mexico, was arrested and charged possession of drug paraphernalia as well. Chavria was also found to have been deported previously but returned to the U.S. The vehicle was returned to its rightful owner, according to police. And all new tonight at 9 this evening, you might have seen some thick black smoke coming from North Odessa. According to Odessa Fire Rescue, a couple small RVs, a large pile of trash, and tires caught fire earlier this evening. OFR says the fire looks worse than it actually is due to the tires. An environmental team was contacted. And it's time to take a look at weather. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is here to tell us what we can expect. Tom?
Well, we did see temperatures up to record highs today across the area, and that sparked an isolated thunder shower across the western Permian Basin. We're going to look at the leftovers here on the live radar right now as we'll zoom in on the western part of the Permian Basin. Again, some isolated showers still out there north of Barstow and Pecos. Near the Kermit area, a little thunder shower, and really due to the dry air that's in place across West Texas, you have to be directly underneath these showers to see a little bit of rain out of it. But also what we're watching out for is gusty winds upwards to 30 to 40 miles an hour out of some of this as it does move off to the east. Just about gone, should be gone by about 10 o'clock. Now taking a look at the temperatures out there, well, we are seeing those here into the triple digits For the afternoon highs, all the way up to 102 out at the Midland International Air and Spaceport. That beat an old record of 100 degrees, and 105 showing up out towards Wink and Pecos this afternoon. Now this evening we are seeing again the low humidity levels out there. They're trying to come back up a little bit as the winds are still a little bit gusty, up to 22 miles an hour in the Fort Stockton area at the present time, as temperatures are trying to cool off, but still into the mid to even upper 90s at the present time. And these temperatures are going to stay hot this week. In fact, those triple digits not leaving anytime soon.
Thanks, Tom. In your environmental news, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has extended the deadline for public comment on a proposal to list the Dune sagebrush lizard as endangered under the Endangered Species Act. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service states primary threats to the lizard include loss of habitat associated with oil and gas development, sand mining, and changing climate. The public comment period for the proposed listing of the Dune sagebrush lizard as endangered now closes October 2nd. The lizard's habitat is the West Texas sand dunes in southeastern New Mexico. The classification could stop oil and gas drilling, operations, and sand mining in some of those areas.
If you take a lot of those areas to mine that sand off the table in the region, it's gonna increase the cost of production in the Permian, make it less environmentally friendly.
President of the Energy Workforce and Technology Council, Tim Tarpley, says they have significant concerns.
88,000 jobs in the Permian directly related to oil and gas, and there's about 500,000 indirects related to oil and gas activities. So when you curtail these activities, it threatens those jobs, and it also threatens, the energy security of our entire country.
Tarpley says they do worry the proposed ruling could be political.
Targets oil and gas operations specifically, but doesn't mention other activities in the region which could also, change the habitat of the lizard. Things like solar development and wind development.
The Greater Good, an organization seeking to make a difference for people, pets, and the planet, listed a petition to protect the lizard. It has close to 7,000 signatures.
I think it's important to protect our native flora and fauna in the United States.
Program manager Matthew Russell wrote the petition. He plans to take it to the Fish and Wildlife Service director.
There's a lot of science behind just negative consequences of putting these plants and animals at risk.
Despite being on opposite sides of the argument, both say the extension is important for people to get their opinions heard before the final decision is made. And Curbside Bistro co-owner and chef Alexandra Barrientos has helped thousands of people across the basin. But his generosity doesn't just stop here in the basin. It's now spreading across the country. With the Maui fires now 100% contained, many families on the island are now trying to recover. In the past, Chef has gone off menu, cooking food the community needs. Hot dogs on a hot summer day and warm soup in the middle of winter. This time, though, Curbside Bistro will be having their own Ohana brunch, and all proceeds will be donated to the Maui Relief Funds.
I really believe that's what God put us here on earth to do, is to help one another, help our brother, help our sister. And I'm blessed to be able to be in a community that allows us to do that. So it all starts with us just brainstorming what we're going to do, what we're going to help out.
According to the FBI, so far the confirmed number of deaths from the wildfires has reached 115 people, with 385 people still missing. Chef believes the best way to help those in Maui is to donate to nonprofits in the Hawaiian community. And it is Labor Day, and although there have been many strikes this year, one union got together today to celebrate America's hard workers. The American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations started its Permian Basin branch in 1964 and held its 64th celebration of Labor Day today. The AFCO held the event at the Lawndale Community Center and hosted guest speakers from around the Permian Basin and a union representative from Austin. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says that there currently are over 167 million Americans in the labor force. The AFL-CIO is choosing to honor all 167 million today.
Well, personally to me, it's just a day to honor the workers of America, for us to say this is the backbone of America. I believe personally it's not just union work, but all workers. If you were laying the rails back in the 1800s, or if you were working in the cotton fields and picking cotton, those are the ones that were the backbone of America that built America.
There have been many strikes across the nation this year, and strikes hurt both the workers and the companies. Holbrook says that companies and employees should be put in constant communication, but today was a break from the strikes. Instead, it's a time to celebrate the holiday made for them. And speaking of labor unions, workers' strikes are poised to be a major talking point in the upcoming presidential election. Ongoing Hollywood strikes have networks preparing for a new television season without the actors and writers who are on the picket line. An auto worker strike could be 10 days away without a new contract.
You know, there's no excuse at the end of this. If we get to the 14th and they haven't delivered, then we got to do what we got to do.
American Airlines flight attendants have also voted to authorize a strike if they don't receive a new contract. However, they will not be allowed to walk off the job without support from a federal mediator. Back here in West Texas, Midland's Bush Tennis Center is trying to get Midlanders to play a racket sport called padel. It's a mix between racquetball and tennis that was founded in Mexico in the late 1960s. Padel has grown in popularity globally, but has yet to pick up the same speed in the U.S. Nonetheless, Bush Tennis Center is bringing the sport to the Permian Basin. It's one of 9 clubs recognized by the U.S. Padel Association in Texas and the only one in West Texas.
Smaller court than a tennis court, but it's bigger than a pickleball court, okay? And it's surrounded by glass and fencing because you're actually allowed to play off your glass. The ball is allowed to hit the glass after it hits the ground.
The sport uses the same point system as tennis, but has smaller balls and uses a paddle. Center members say it's easier than tennis. And turning now to state news, Attorney General Ken Paxton's impeachment trial starts tomorrow. Paxton is accused of repeatedly abusing his office to help a donor. Paxton has also been indicted on security fraud, and he is being investigated by the federal government because former staffers accused him of taking bribes and abusing his office. The Republican-led Texas House of Representatives impeached him in May after he requested more than $3 million in state funds for a settlement with whistleblowers. The GOP-controlled state Senate is friendlier ground for Paxton, as he has a number of conservative allies there. That includes his wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, but she has been barred from voting at the trial. And still ahead, people who attended this year's Burning Man Festival are now leaving after being trapped for days. The latest on the 5-mile trek next on CBS7 News at 9. And September is Hunger Action Month, and we here at CBS7 want your business to join the Peanut Butter Brigade. You can donate peanut butter to the West Texas Food Bank and encourage your customers to do the same by putting out a donation barrel at your business. Sign your business up for the brigade by emailing peanutbutter@cbs7.com. People attending this year's Burning Man Festival began leaving the venue in large numbers after being trapped in Nevada's remote Black Rock Desert for part of the weekend. Tens of thousands were stranded after more than a half-inch of rain fell Friday, leaving roads leading out of the area too muddy for driving. CBS News correspondent Dina Demetrius has the latest from Los Angeles.
What a long, strange trip it's been. Finally, on Monday, the Burning Man Exodus officially got underway on the only road out of the annual Counterculture Festival.
We just spent 4 hours in line to get out. And the people in line now, getting in line now, might spend 12 hours.
After 2 months' worth of rain fell on Friday, Burning Man officials warned festival goers to shelter in place, not to try to make the more than 5-mile trek out. The mud was so thick in the remote part of the northern Nevada desert that even large vehicles couldn't move. And those who chose to walk barefoot risked chemical burns because the mud is alkaline. The cement-like sludge stranded more than 70,000 people and forced them to shelter in place and conserve food and water. Some people walked miles through ankle-deep muck to make their exit, including DJ Diplo and comedian Chris Rock, who hiked out, then caught a ride. But many waited and waited.
For me and my husband, this is an escape from the hard things, and this is kind of hard.
For some, it was all part of the Burning Man experience.
This is the best burn ever, and I'm having the best time.
Burning Man attracts tens of thousands of artists, musicians, and activists for a mix of wilderness camping and performances. This year, Mother Nature also took the spotlight. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, we did see a rather hot day. In fact, record-setting heat across the area. Is more of that in the forecast? Take a look at it next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, it was a scorcher out there today. If you were outside for Labor Day activities, the fair, barbecue outside, it was hot. You felt it, and it was a record high of 102 degrees, beating the old record of 100 set back in the 80s. So again, a big change there. On our weathers, we're getting back to these record highs and all the way up to 105 in Wink and Pecos this afternoon. Here's a look at Odessa this evening. Still some breeze coming in out of the south, occasionally gusts up to 20 miles an hour as temperatures again are still on the hot side really for this time of the night, into the mid 90s across many locations. Cooling off there in Alpine, though, currently with 83 degrees. Now, we do have this upper level low back here across portions of the, looks like the middle Mississippi Valley into the plains, back towards West Texas, still under an area of high pressure again. It's kind of moved off to the southwest a little bit, but still influencing our weather. Still a lot of dry air in place. So, again, things just look hot and dry. Not expecting too much rain. We had a couple of showers western Permian Basin, but that was very limited activity for the most part. Pretty quiet conditions across the state today, and plenty in the way of hot temperatures in the triple digits. Now we're cooling off a little bit out there into the mid to lower 90s across the area. Now the West Texas Futurecast, this little wrinkle in the atmosphere is going to kick off a couple more showers, thunder showers across portions of the Concho Valley into the Big Bend coming up, I should say the Big Country tomorrow afternoon, but that's about as close as it gets. It looks like things are just dry and hot again for your Tuesday. We do have heat advisories up now from the Big Bend area all the way up into the mountains and northeast Permian Basin, where temperatures in the northeast Permian Basin up to near 108 degrees. Up close to 100 in the mountain areas and 110 along the Rio Grande down towards the Big Bend for tomorrow, as we're going to try to cool off a little bit into the mid to lower 70s overnight tonight with some breezy conditions. Up to 103 tomorrow. We close to a record high, it looks like, coming up again tomorrow afternoon. And triple digits hanging around in the forecast for the rest of the week. But next week, though, a little bit of a change, as we'll see a weak cool front and high pressure move away. That may bring some better changes to our forecast for the middle part of next week.
Still ahead, law enforcement in Pennsylvania have spent multiple days searching for an escaped inmate. The latest on the man at large next on CBS 7 News at 9. Police in Pennsylvania may be closing in on a convicted killer who escaped from prison last week. There were multiple sightings of Danilo Cavalcante over the weekend. People in the area are being urged to lock their doors and stay alert. 34-year-old Danilo Cavalcante escaped Chester County Prison on Thursday. Authorities are going door to door and also using a helicopter to broadcast a message from his mother asking him to surrender. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens is telling residents to use extreme caution and call the police if they think they see the suspect.
I intend to stress him. I want to push him hard. He'll make mistakes. He'll show himself.
Cavalcante was sentenced to life without parole last week for murdering his ex-girlfriend, who prosecutors say was going to tell authorities about charges he faces in Brazil for a 2017 murder. County officials have not yet said how he escaped. Still ahead, a fish getting a CT scan. We'll tell you what happened up next. All right, Tom, here's something you don't see every day or any day ever maybe. A fish getting a CT scan at the Denver Zoo after a health scare. Zoo officials decided to perform the test after the French angelfish was seen swimming abnormally. It was literally a fish out of water during the process, so this was no simple task, not at all like doing a CT scan on a human. They had to sedate the fish and run water over its gills intermittently. In a post, the zoo said the fish, quote, was on a treatment plan and is now back to happily swimming in its tropical discovery home. Tom, I didn't know they would do this for a fish. It must be a very special type of fish.
Yes, I think it's part of this exhibit, so it's something exotic and not seen a lot, especially in captivity, so they wanted to be sure to try to save that specimen, and they had the equipment to do it there, and getting a CT scan, that's a top shelf medical care.
Yeah, and pretty fascinating how they did it and kept it alive while doing so.
Well, that fish would not like the heat we're dealing with. You need to get in the water, or everybody, to cool off, because we're going to see temperatures near record highs again tomorrow, and these triple digits hanging around for the rest of the week.
Thanks for watching CBS7 First Alert News at NCW.